different money-making questions people might have on LinkedIn. Anywhere. So I've got a list of questions that people have asked me over the years. I'm going to share some of them. Some of these are things that people have asked me on my Substack. Some of these things are people that have asked me on LinkedIn. And I'm going to answer them honestly, exactly what I think. How much money can you make selling courses in 2026? Courses have been, for the last few years, a good money earner for a lot of people. But let me give you some honest truth. The only way to sell courses is one, if you've got a defined problem, and two, if you've got traffic. It sounds like really easy. If I just got 30 people to give me £100, I've made £3,000. But actually trying to get 30 people to give you £100 without you doing one-to-one work is quite hard. So you need traffic. So do not be very careful about going what we call low ticket, trying to sell courses if you don't have traffic. If you don't have traffic, you need to sell high ticket, £10,000 things, $20,000 things. It's much easier to make a profit that way if you're selling high ticket than low ticket. So how much can you make selling courses? The vast majority of people who try to sell courses make nothing. Absolutely nothing. So it's better to sell high ticket services than sell courses, because you get into profit and you break even with less sales and less customers. What do you think of drop shipping these days? Dead as a dodo. Drop shipping is a tough old game. Again, it needs traffic. So do not be under any illusion. Getting traffic is difficult. So do not think, oh, I've built a course or I've built a shop, now I just need sales. Actually, getting the traffic for a drop shipping website or any kind of e-commerce website is the hardest bit. Building the website now with AI, plugging into Shopify, selling other people's stuff, they've built all of that front end for you. The hard bit is getting traffic. That's why a lot of brands will allow you to drop ship for them, because you are their sales force. That's the hard bit. So don't think it's easy money, because it isn't. The only people who make easy money from drop shipping are the people who sell drop shipping courses. How do you make money on YouTube without millions of views? This is a good one, because I make good money from YouTube, not from monetization. I make it from converting people who watch my videos. So hi Shavin, hi Drumsmith Studios. I don't need tons and tons of clients to make YouTube profitable. All I need is one or two people to buy one of my services, and YouTube is all worthwhile. So the thread here is, don't play the mass audience game. Go high margin, low number, rather than high volume, low number. So if you play a high margin game, you need less clients, which means YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, it all gets easier. It's harder if you try to play volume. I don't have super chat enabled yet. I'm just going to do this for a little while and keep going. Hi, Mighty Blowfish. So I'm just doing Q&A, answering questions. I'll answer anything people ask. You can put them in the chat, and I'll keep going. How long does it take to make passive income? Oh, I'm not going to get any fans for doing this, but passive income doesn't really exist. The concept of what most people think is passive income, of earning money that requires no effort, doesn't really exist. Even if you sold a course and the courses are all automated, you've got to work or pay somebody to drive traffic. So there is some work in there. Mighty Blowfish is Oliver Reed. Hello, Oliver Reed. Oh, here we go. Here's a good question about affiliate marketing. Does affiliate marketing work? Actually, yes, it does. And one of my good friends, it helps brands find good affiliates and helps them build profitable affiliate programs. They do work, but again, the people who do really well affiliate marketing have built an audience. And I'll give you one tip on building an audience. I've got an Instagram that blows up every time I post. One Instagram that blows up every time I post. But the topic is really niche. It's really focused. My general stuff, where I just talk about anything and everything, doesn't do as well. So when I talk about a specific niche on that Instagram, goes nuts. But on my general Dean Seddon Instagram, doesn't. So if you want traffic, go super niche. And you can build a really good audience, super niche, a really good audience around one topic. And then what you do is you look for affiliate deals, affiliates that basically fit that audience. And that can work really well. I got an offer today. I've got about 80,000 people in my emails, but I've cleansed it a little bit. And an AI tool offered me $1.72 a click, not even a purchase, if I sent an email. And I thought, that would be juicy. But it's kind of a bit of a mismatch. And it's probably easy money, but it's because I've built that crowd. I've built that list of people who subscribe to what I do. So be careful with that. Affiliate marketing does work, but traffic's the big one. How much can a freelancer charge per hour? Now, I don't work with many freelancers, but I was one. And I think what you have to understand is it's not the going rate of the hour, it's the value you deliver in that hour. And so if you tie what you do in that hour to a business result, a business outcome, people will pay more per hour. If you just say, I will write a blog post for you, I don't want to pay more than 20 quid for it. But if you show me how your blog post will help me drive more traffic and get me more leads from my website, the value of that blog post goes up. So if you're a freelancer, tie your hour of work, scrap the hour and say you'll do this output that will achieve a certain result, and then it changes it. So I wouldn't think about charging per hour. I'd charge for the result you're going to deliver. Isn't it? How do you make money from a podcast? So I don't do this. I've probably left thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands on the table because I've not sold slots on my podcast. I've not sold slots in my events. I've kept it as it's just our thing. In hindsight, should I have done that? Probably. Now, podcasts can make a couple of different ways of making money. One, it can sell the sponsorship of the podcast and put like ads in there. And two, you can actually get people paying to come on if you've got traffic. You notice the point here. To make that kind of money where people will pay you for just doing what you do, you need traffic. And that's how a lot of content creators really make their money. The courses are actually a sideline. So podcast-wise, I get my 3,000-4,000 streams stroke downloads per episode. So I can get maybe 600-700 quid sponsored episode and maybe 1,000-1,500 quid per for a guest. Don't do it. I should do it really, but I've never done it because I didn't want to be, I wanted my advice and what I was sharing to be what I think, and I didn't want to have to fall into, well, I don't want to offend them and I don't want to offend them. And sometimes I do say things that people don't like. How much do online coaches actually earn? Oh, so this is a really good one, right? So if you spend any amount of time scrolling social media, you'll see coaches who basically are making 6 and 7 figures and, telling you how they can make you. The coaching of coaching, let's just park the coaches that coach coaches how to get clients. If you just deal with the average coach, life coach, mindset coach, the vast majority of them barely make any money. And I actually talked to somebody about this on a call today. The vast majority of them make any money because they got into coaching for a passion and they never thought about what's the commercial model that will work, what's the business proposition of how I'll help people but also I'll actually make it as a viable business. They don't think about that. And because they're so in love with coaching, they never learn the skill and the know-how to convert that into a marketing message that will actually sell it. So the vast majority of coaches don't make any money because they never learn those skills. Their hobby and their passion they get blinded to the commercial reality of trying to make that work. So it is tough. Here's an interesting one. How do people make money from selling stock photos? I don't know these days because I think AI has ripped the bottom out of that. So there used to be, if you're an amateur photographer, you could make really good photos, load them up onto these, stock websites and basically make decent money. I think the ability to do that has kind of gone away with AI generated images. But if you've got some really, really good images, you're in luck, you can do something. So I wouldn't do that. I know somebody, they used to work for me, they don't work for me now, but when NFTs came along, they were spending hours making images of NFTs to try and make money. And when I saw the NFTs, I thought, this is an absolute joke. Gary Vee was saying, oh, you're going to make loads and loads and loads of money out of it. It was total pump and dump. It was hype, and anybody with an ounce of commercial sense would go, there is no value behind these NFTs that are being, buy the digital rights to a JPEG. Just made no sense. But people got suckered into it. Can you make money from public domain content? I've always wanted to do this, actually. So for those of you who don't know, certain copyrighted works like A Christmas Carol, I think, Christmas Carol, some of the older stories we're all familiar with have come out of their copyright period. And so Christmas Carol, things like that, they can all basically, they're in the public domain. And so what a lot of people do is they create new books, new things around those stories. Now, I haven't gone into all of the legalities, but basically they come off copyright, people make products with them and sell them. And it's perfectly legal to do. You have to check which works you can do it with. And then they put the books on Amazon and they can make money from selling digital editions of A Christmas Carol and God knows what. It's crazy. It's crazy that that's the way it works, but it does. So, in a few years, you're going to have every year there's great works that have been published. I think Napoleon Hill's book is actually off copyright as well. I think that's why it's made such a big resurgence. So a lot of people do it. So let's have a look, see what else. Anybody else got any questions here? Everything does take time. Business is not necessarily about coming up with a perfect plan and it all working. Actually, most of the time it doesn't work as planned. And so you have to figure it out as you do it. There's a certain kind of commitment you have to make to doing it. And if you don't commit to it, you will never be successful. When I decided to start my business, I had no idea it was going to work. I had a plan, and the day I started, that plan more or less went out the window because plans have to meet reality. And that's where you have to adapt and adjust as you go. How do you make money online without burning out? So it can be, people often talk about like posting content and going viral. When you go down that rabbit hole of how do I go viral, there is a certain science to it and you can copy things. But one of the things that I come across is a lot of creators really giving up on it because they're having to do things that they don't really want to do to make money. They're having to say things and share things because it performs. And if you think about it, if you want to be a creator, you want people to fall in love with and enjoy your work. You want them to enjoy what you're creating. And if you end up in a situation whereby you're just creating because it's what works, that can eventually get quite demoralizing. So, sure, the idea of posting content and people loving what you do and getting paid to do that is fantastic. But often, and I find this frustration if I'm honest, there's things that I think are important to be said. There are things that I think people need to realize that need to be said. But if I was derive my income from creating content, like literally, like I lived or died financially by how this live did, and I'd go broke because of this live if I didn't do it right. If I lived or died by the performance of my content, I would have to zip my mouth and say what the algorithm wants and what the audience wants. You don't want to know that actually it's hard to build a business. You don't want to know that. You want three simple steps to making $1 million. I know that because that's how humans are wired. And so content creators end up in the same boat of going, I have to share what will perform. And that takes a mental and emotional toll on somebody that actually they end up going, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to share what matters to me. But they've built an audience by pleasing an audience. And that can be dangerous, can be destructive. How do you know which guru to trust? So this is really difficult. I don't think I'm a guru, but Rice Eater, this is actually no one paying you, by the way. No, nobody is paying me. Nobody. I'm saying what I think. Which guru to trust? This is a real good one, right? I can't tell you that there's a magic formula to looking at a guru and seeing who to trust. What I've always done is looked at reviews, Reddit, look to see if I can find traces of the success that are third party. Look for independent sources of their success. So news, independent news, look for credible third parties. Now, one of the downsides is gurus have started to realize this. And now what they do is they pay people to give them reviews on review sites, and they pay people to do YouTube reviews. So you have to be more careful with that. But you should always look for, are there external sources that validate their claims? Have they been around long enough? There's a lot of people that appear because you can scale quickly with ads. You need to do some due diligence. And I'd always say, I say this to people who approach me, I will tell you what I can offer you. You go away and sleep on it and never make an instant decision, because emotions get lost and you get swept away with things and you make decisions in the heat of the moment that you may well regret. And any good business will give you that time to think. If they're trying to avoid you or persuade you that thinking is bad, it might be bad for me that you think, but it's not bad for you. So how do you know which guru to trust? Look at their tactics, look at their track record, look for independent sources. Don't just rely on what they tell you on their feed. How do you replace a salary within 12 months? Oh, this is a good one. How do you replace? First off, right, always give yourself a runway. So if you're trying to replace your salary, give yourself a runway. If you think you can do what I'm going to tell you in a moment in 3 months, give yourself a runway of 6 months. If you think it'll take you 6 months, give you a runway of 12 months. But here's how I would replace a salary in 12 months. Let's say I'm earning decent money working for a bank. I don't know. First off, I would decide on what's a common problem I can solve for people where the problem is worth somebody paying 5 to 10 grand. Now, for you watching me, you might think, 5 to 10 grand is a lot of money. It is to you. It might be to me. But to people earning 7, 8, 9 figures, to companies turning over $1 billion and 10 million and 100 million, 5 to 10K is nothing. It's peanuts. So here's what you do. You design something for the people where it's peanuts. Yeah. If I saw something for a couple of grand online and I thought I'll take a punt on that, I'll buy it. Same thing goes. Other people will take a punt on 10 grand. I said the other night, I went to a dinner with some bankers and they were joking about how the lunch cost 3 grand. That's obscene to me. But to them, it's a couple of days' earnings. So think about a problem for people where 10 grand is throwaway. That's what you've got to do. So think about that and then design an offer for it. And then think about, where do they hang out? How do they talk about that problem? How do they communicate about it? And put a whole package together and then start marketing. Where do they hang out? Is it LinkedIn? Is it YouTube? Is it TikTok? And start to figure out what content they're consuming and the best way of approaching them. That's what I would do. And if I'm selling something at 5 to 10 grand, yeah, how many clients do I actually need to replace my income in 12 months? Not many. If you're on a modest salary, 40, 50K, say, if you're on 40, 50K, it's 10, 12, 15 clients, depending on where you are on that price point. So replacing your salary within 12 months, if you do high ticket, it's much easier to do because you don't need that many clients. It's just about picking an audience where 5 to 10K is not a big decision. And I know for some of you, you'll think, I can't even process that. You'd be surprised how many people 5 to 10K is not a big decision. Might be to you, but it's not to them. Let's see if we've got any more here. So let's see what we've got. And we'll answer a couple more. Any more? Let's see what we got here. Why do most people never make money online? Oh, this is a good one. Why do most people don't? Because often the reason why most people don't make money online is they're not really, if I'm honest, serious. They're not serious in the sense of, I'm going to do this. They're not burning their boats and saying, I'm going to do it. They're hedging their bets. So often it's just like, I liked it. I like the idea of it. But when it comes to actually doing the work to implement it and taking the failure of doing it and keep going, that's when it gets hard. And most people quit when it gets hard. So why do most people quit? Because they're not committed in the first place seriously enough to work at it. And you will fail. You will make mistakes. That's normal. It's perfectly normal. And sometimes you learn from the mistakes. You make mistakes you wish you'd never make. But that's part of the process. So most people don't make any money because they didn't really make the decision to do it. They just fell in love with the idea of it and then kind of played around with it a bit. And as soon as some friction, some resistance, some difficulty comes, as soon as it pinches into their leisure time or their downtime, they cut and run. I know that's harsh, but that's just the reality of most people. Does personal branding actually make you any more money? This, again, is a really good one. Does personal branding actually make you money? For most people, probably not, but with a caveat. What most people think of as personal branding is logos, photography, brand colors, fonts, all of that kind of stuff. But I would say, Night Oliver, I would say what personal branding is really about is being known for solving a specific problem and becoming a go-to expert for that problem, becoming a specialist. And if you build your brand around solving a problem, you will obviously build an audience, build a crowd, and build interest for people who want to solve that problem. And that's how you can make money without huge crowds. Is it getting harder to make money online? Yes. It is harder now than it was 10 years ago. just because there's more people doing it. There's more people having a go. There's more people trying things. There's more noise. There's more saturation. And of course, we got AI. And so a lot of the things that you would buy like information products for, how do I do this? How do you do that? And you pay like $20 to buy a little ebook or something. You can now ask ChatGPT. So it's yes, it is harder to make money online. You do have to be more specific and more targeted in what you're doing. Otherwise, you will not succeed at making money online. What's a way anybody can make money online? Ooh, right. You can tell I'm not scripted here, right? What's a way that anybody could make money online now? Okay, so the obvious one is Facebook Marketplace. My stepson and his mate Josh, they were making, I think it was a couple of £100 a month, and so, just a couple of £100 a month, buying things off Facebook Marketplace and relisting things on Facebook Marketplace, or buying stuff on eBay and putting it up on Facebook Marketplace, and vice versa, and eBay. So there is a way you could make half decent money just by selling stuff. My wife, as an example, I've lost a lot of weight, if you don't know. She's taking all my old clothes and putting them on Vinted, and she's making a bit out of doing that. So you can make money by reselling stuff. Just be wary in the UK. You can't do it without paying tax now. I think, don't quote me, but I think it's the first £1,000 you can do without declaring it as a business, but after that you have to pay tax. But just look at the kind of arbitrage of it and just go, hang on, let's look at what things are selling for on scroll Facebook Marketplace, and you look and find a deal. Go and look at eBay and say, how much is it selling there? Buy it there and sell it there. And you can get pretty good at it. And like I said, my stepson Josh, he made a couple of £100 a month after doing that, which, anybody could do that. Anybody could do that. A friend of mine made some games, some party games for hen do's. And she's not doing it so much now, but she made, I don't know, must be £300,000 in sales from selling her party games on Amazon. So, you just find a gap in the market. Party game, Christmas game, it could be a Halloween game. Make a little game up. We printed them for her. She made these little games as cards, packaged it up, put them on Amazon, and people were buying them £3, £4, £5, and she was selling them. So that kind of stuff is the barrier to entry of doing that has actually gone down, but you really have to find something quirky and interesting that you can do. But the arbitrage of buying on one marketplace, selling on another, that works. And also inventing your own little products you can put on Amazon. Crafting on Etsy, making like Christmas wreaths and stuff and putting them on Etsy, that works. All those kind of things you can do. And these marketplaces have a crowd already. They have the traffic already. So it's just looking and going, could I do like hampers or something like that on Etsy? Could I do gift sets, handmade gift sets, and put them on it? It's a no-brainer. It's never going to be like for most people, that would never be a life-changing, career-changing business. But you can make decent money on the side. And that might pay for a holiday. It might, pay off your mortgage quicker. That kind of stuff works really well. But again, you got to have the commitment to do it. Okay, we've done 30 minutes, so I think I'll wrap up. I'm going to try and do some more of these lives and answer questions. We've gone through drop shipping, arbitrage, high ticket, low ticket. We've gone through how to trust a guru. All of those stuff's in the live. If this has been helpful, please subscribe to the channel. Please also comment and share any questions that you're thinking about. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm not sponsored. I'm not supported by anybody. So I'll tell you what I think and tell you the benefit of my experience. But thanks, guys, for joining. See you again soon.